This is Dr. Charles Parker, and you're listening to Core Brain Journal. It's a place where I connect both fresh discoveries and interesting different perspectives from advanced mind science with the realities of real people and everyday life down on Main Street.
Well, welcome aboard, folks. Dr. Charles Parker one more time here at Core Brain Journal. And we have an interesting guy today, Brad Finkeldei. This is episode 068. Welcome, Brad. Thank you for coming on board.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
So I'm going to do a little intro on Brad, and then we'll find out a little bit about him personally, and we'll go on down the road together. Brad is an author, a certified life coach, and he's an entrepreneur. What he does is he helps overcome the fears of individuals and really achieve their dreams. As an example, he had a recent client that broke through her fear of leaving work and instead actually got a raise and an opportunity to get this work from home. So I think he really helped her out. Her original goal, her original goal was to be with the kids more, and she got both of them after her work with Brad. So Brad, you're a coach. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you are, about yourself personally, so we get to know you a little bit.
Yeah, we were just talking before. You know, I'm a geek, I'm a nerd, and for years I was in the IT industry, and I had I worked my way up the corporate ladder, or laterally, I guess is more specific and a better way to describe it. And I reached a certain level, and I was living in Austin, Texas at the time, and I bought a big house, had a nice car, had a BMW, and I filled it up with all the stuff you're supposed to have in America. And I looked down. I looked down at my living room and kitchen, nice granite countertops, and all the pretty appliances, and my Roomba too. And I just said to myself, I'm not happy. And I'm like, I have everything you're supposed to have as, you know, quote unquote, the American dream. And at that point, I was like, well, something's not working. Like, I did everything you're supposed to, you know, no debt, good grades, like all the things you're supposed to do in life, according to society. And I still wasn't fulfilled. So I reached out to a life coach, and we sat down and we had about a 2-hour discussion over coffee. And at the end of it, she looked me in the eyes and she said, "You're not confident. You're not a confident person." And it was kind of like a gut punch, but like one that was that struck reality, that made sense to me, and was someone telling me the real truth of what I'd been doing. I'd been buying things, a big giant house, you know, cars, experiences, all in order for people to get to like me. And I didn't realize I was doing it. And I was covering it up with being nice and funny. Mm-hmm. And it really struck to me that, yeah, I had been buying all this stuff just to get people to like me. Mm. And it was at that point in time when I was like, you know what, the one thing I always wanted to do, but I didn't feel confident to do, was to go out on my own and try to be an entrepreneur. And it was that time that I said, I'm going to go after this. I'm going to do this now. I kind of had an unveiling of like what my next step was. And I went in, I put together a plan, and I said, I'm going to quit in 3 months. I've got some savings. I'm going to go after this. And within 2 weeks of starting that plan, I was walking my dog on June 13th. This was 2013. And I said to myself, well, how can I make this happen faster? Because once you start something and you put a date out there, you're like, well, how can I make this happen faster? And I said to myself, well, maybe if I get fired or laid off, that would help. That would speed the process up. And so I went into work that morning, and that's what happened. Like, the universe aligned. God said, okay, here you go, buddy.
It's amazing.
And I was scared, and I was excited at the same time to go out and try something, because, you know, as amazing as the opportunities, as all the work I had gave me, there was a point in time where it was just, I was 6 degrees away from helping someone in person. I was doing engineering work behind the scenes on systems that run, you know, big websites and data centers and stuff like that. But I wasn't feeling fulfilled. Mm-hmm. And so that started my whole journey into, you know, starting business businesses, and I went out and got a first job right out of the bat was building a website for a yoga resort in Guatemala, and they flew me down there, and I did some photography for them, and I built their website, and I even flew a drone to do some aerial photography.
Oh, what fun!
And yeah, and that led me into just realizing, you can go after what you really want. But then I got back from that trip, and it was the holiday season for 2013, and I went back home to St. Louis. And it was in that time in St. Louis that I realized my dad passed away when, excuse me, when I was 18, so almost 20 years ago now. And when I went back home, I looked at my mom's house, and I just said to myself, she deserves better than this. And her house had just fallen apart. The basement was in shambles. She was quite frankly embarrassed to have people over because it had just been falling apart. And I said to myself, would I regret this if I didn't do something about this now? Because I had the time and I had the resources to do something. And I just said, screw it. So I left Austin, Texas. I moved back with my mom for 9 months. And I took it upon myself as a project that I wanted to do. And I completely rehabbed her basement, gave her a brand new basement, gave her some the upstairs bathroom, redid that, and fixed some things around the house that just no one was there to do. And she didn't have either the means to do it, nor, she's she's obviously the best mother in the world, according to me, and my brothers and family. But she's not a handy. She's not a swing hammer,
right,
or.
Yeah.
And from in that experience, that's when I came across life coaching as a career, because I had met someone, then they introduced me to it, and that spurred the whole. Wow, this is where I could make a difference with people by listening to them. And from all of those insights into coaching, I just really dove deep inside myself and was able to overcome, some of the biggest issues I've had in my life, and gained huge insights into where a lot of my fear comes from, a lot of where my anger comes from, and a lot of those were past experiences, in my childhood. And to have that awareness now of where they come from, I can now step into and just have that awareness in my life and step into those moments further.
Well, how does a person go into that coaching? So you had a series of self-realization opportunities there. You hit a bump in the road. You had a very interesting tour down there, in the islands. And then you came back and you were working with your mother. And what was that next step? Did you actually go into therapy? Did you go into coach training? What actually happened there?
Yeah, so I went into coach training. Mm-hmm. And, to be completely transparent and honest, part of my way of being as a person was I was going to tackle a task and get the gold star and then move on to the next thing. But I went in and I got my certification as a life coach, and I came out like, wow, that was more powerful than just going through another course, because there's a lot of introspective work in coaching where they start asking about, who you are and how things show up in your life, and just reflecting your thoughts back to you. And I got a lot out of the coaching as well. Mm-hmm. And that's when I was like, well, there's more to this than just asking people questions. Mm-hmm. And that's how I got started. And then just a serendipitous meeting of someone, and I saw what she was doing she was a yoga teacher, and she was doing some email marketing. And I just said, hey, I was kind of following my intuition, I guess you could say. Mm-hmm. And I just asked her some questions, and we had coffee, and then she introduced me to the business behind life coaching. And that's when everything started to, I started to figure more things out on the business side of it. So that's where it's taken me from there.
So one thing that occurs to me, because you had all this background in technology, that the opportunity there would be for you to connect with more people through technology and continue to do coaching without necessarily having to run around, because virtual coaching is something that people can access very easily. So is that what you do then?
Yeah. So it's either over phone or Skype or Zoom, and it gives you that opportunity to connect with someone, especially the video stuff nowadays. I mean, we're doing it right now. People who are listening to this aren't seeing this, but there's that connection there that you don't exactly get sometimes over the phone. You can actually see the person's. Yeah. I'll remember. I'll share this insight is that I was thinking about moving to Portland, Oregon. And I was being coached by an extraordinary coach over in London. And we were doing a Skype session. And he was asking me a bunch of questions. And then he's like, put your coffee down. Stop moving your fingers. Settle down. And he was seeing like all of my fidgety moments. And those moments are really big tellers into what's going on with someone internally. Like if they just can't sit there, and if they're dodging their eyes when you ask them a question, or they're, you can really see that whatever it is they're doing, that they're not present to the question, that probably means that maybe there's something underneath that they don't want to think about or feel into yet. And when he really got me present, he said, just stop moving, like listen to the question and I want you to answer it. We had a powerful breakthrough, and I was really feeling this was last year, and I couldn't make up my mind about moving to Portland or not. And he goes, what if it was just a big experiment? And I was like, oh, well, that makes it much easier. And it was a moment in my life where I couldn't make a decision one way or the other, and just by him helping me get clear, I was able to make a decision that I didn't put all this expectation on this huge move across the country. And it was, what if it was just an experiment? Oh, well, that makes it much easier. And it was. It all came back to be this huge, giant experiment where I went into basically the laboratory of me in some self-development programs and leadership programs, where I learned so much about myself and so much about where my confidence comes from, and where I believe and what I teach people now is where natural confidence comes from. And basically it comes from being in the service of other people. And one of the stories that I experienced up there was last year I went to Ecuador on a speaking trip. And during this speaking trip, we had about 20 or 30 other people with us. And one of the guys was there. I can actually share this with you because you can see this. But he was a shaman, and he went around the world with a big rubber chicken and empowered people to step into their fears, and then gave them a little rubber chicken. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh, yeah. That's a little
ridiculous.
One. Hey, folks at home, it looks like about a 1.5-inch yellow chicken on a bracelet that he's got there, just so you know what's going on.
And he would give these little rubber chickens out to people, everyone he met and told the story to, and shared his life with, and encouraged them to step into their fears and to go after whatever they thought was really important in their life. And he gave one to me, and I left feeling better about myself. I didn't have like a huge moment right there, but it was a small token to keep reminding me. And about 8 or 9 months later, after the Ecuador trip, he was actually killed in a terrorist thing in Egypt.
Oh my
and
God.
It was really, it was horrible.
That's too bad.
Yeah, and I was going through a leadership program during that time, or a little bit after that, and I just had an alignment in my thoughts. I'm like, what if I were to do kind of what Raphael did in my own work? Because it's a perfect match with my personality of being funny and goofy and also empowering and inspiring to other people. And I was like, that would be a great way to remember him and keep his message going. So what I did was I ordered a bunch of these rubber chickens. I ordered about a bucket of them for about $30 off of Amazon. And I was, I was excited to get these bucket of rubber chickens, 1.5-inch rubber chickens. And I got the message on my phone that they'd just been delivered, and I was actually out walking the dog. So I get back to the house, and I'm expecting to see the Amazon package on the front porch, but it's not there. And I look inside, and it's not there. And I'm like, what's going on? And then it hit me. there was a guy walking down the street that had a bunch of packages under his arm, but he didn't look like the UPS guy. And he looked like he could have been homeless or something.
A little shaky, yeah.
I'm like, I think this guy stole my stuff. Mm-hmm. And it was in that moment when I was like, wow, if this was me 3 years ago, before that moment of realizing that I wasn't confident, I would have just gone inside and said, nah, I'm not going to go have a confrontational moment or confront this guy. But just something inside me said, I have to go chase after this guy. Mm-hmm. And so I grabbed the dog, because she's a power licker, and ran. And then
we'll talk more about that later.
Yes.
I don't know what a power licker is, but I'm sure.
She's a she's a boxer.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
Sometimes my brain just goes straight to different words and just spits them right out of my mouth.
No, I got it.
But anyways, I confronted this guy, and I said, hey, I think you have my package. Uh-huh. And he said, no, I don't. And I said, I think you do. And I said, can I look? And he said, okay. So I looked. It was my name. I opened it up. I was instantly even more upset because I paid $30 for, a bucket of these rubber chickens, and I pulled out one little rubber chicken. Uh-huh. And that was it. And I was like, oh, my God, I got ripped off from the people at Amazon, and then this guy stole from me. This is horrible. And so I looked at the guy and I said, I held up the rubber chicken in his face and I said, what's going on in your life that you're stealing random packages off people's porches? And it was in that moment when everything shifted from it's no longer about me that I started to make it about how can I make a difference in his life. And I started to use my coaching in that aspect and listening to him. And 4 people had died in his life that year. He was strung out on drugs. His girlfriend was strung out on drugs. And his mother was strung out on drugs. They had gone homeless and just turned to stealing. And their strategy was to steal packages off people's porches, which they didn't even know what was in them. And so I just listened to him and tried to make any sort of difference I could in the moment there. And then I reached in my wallet and I gave him the last $6 that I had. And I encouraged him to go return, the rest of the packages that he had stolen. And then if he had ever wanted to have a conversation and sit down, that's what I do. And I'd be more than happy to see if I could help him in any fashion. And that moment for myself was when I really started to get like, wow, when I get into someone else's world and I think about how to serve them, instead of thinking about me, and how do I look and what does, I sound like or what do people think about me, that's when all my confidence issues go away. Mm-hmm. And it was a big flip in behavior for me and in a proud moment for me to stand up for what I believe in. Mm-hmm. And I found that people really resonate with the message. And now that's what I share with people is like, when you're nervous, go into service of other people. And that just really helps take care of, almost, all your confidence issues. I'm sure there's other things to think about, but for the most part, it's been of tremendous value to me to keep it within that mindset of just helping other people, and everything else kind of goes by the wayside. And it's really powerful.
So it was a transformational moment in the midst of rubber chickens. And,
yep, you got
it. And Amazon, that's amazing because usually you don't have that kind of problem with Amazon, but that's an interesting thing. So was there anything more to that story? Did that guy turn it around? What happened? Was that the last you saw of him or what happened?
Yeah, so as of now, that is the last I have heard from him. Maybe the universe will align at some time and get a hold of me. I don't know. I did get my money back for the rubber chickens on Amazon, so I got it all back, which was really great.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, which is a side thing.
Well, the real issue, of course, and you know this, I'm just saying this for our listeners, is that turnaround that you had. I mean, it sounds like a very interesting transformational moment when some of this self-exploration that you had been having turned into exploration, support, working with another human being who was indeed suffering himself.
Yeah, totally. It was a huge moment for myself of being able to stand there and not be thinking about myself, but be thinking, how can I make a difference for this guy? He's, after I got through the moment of like, okay, is this guy dangerous or not or whatever? Yeah. And just getting into his world, it transformed everything.
Well, Brad,
Yeah.
tell us this. What do you do when you're coaching? What would you say would be one of the things that you find most interesting? What are the kind of people that you talk to? How do you actually construct your professional life now?
Yeah, so listening for the unsaid is what I have to do now, because I know me as a person before this work, I was so caught up in what others are going to think of me, and everything else inside of my head that was all about me, and my ego. Now, when I'm coaching, I really listen to the other person, like really get myself out of the situation. It's not about me at that point at all. And I just become a blank slate and listen for what they're saying and really listen to what they're not saying too.
Mm-hmm.
And then from that point, start questioning them and asking them, questions to dig deeper, what's going on here, how much I can push, and be able to pull from them so that they can gain an insight into their own life and go do something, gain an insight into their life so they can move past something that they might be stuck in.
So what would you say would be a particular focus that you find kind of your mission statement, where you want to go? Obviously, you're working with a person to self-discovery, but what happens in the process? What would be a favorite theme that you have in terms of where you're going with that process of coaching?
Uncovering the possibility. And basically, like you alluded to earlier, the one of the clients that I've worked with, the one that you described, like before, she, when we first started working together, she didn't think it was possible to work from home. Period. End of story.
Mm-hmm.
But as we worked together, we started to unravel how to approach, her workplace in a way, and approach her boss in a way that was compassionate, giving her some strategies to think, okay, well, she's always done a good job at work, but they just had a policy of no working from home.
Mm-hmm.
But she was doing a really good job. And what I, advised her to do was think about, well, maybe it could be a possibility in the future, and let's just start out small and see and build from there and keep doing a good job at work.
Mm-hmm.
And then from that, she was able to uncover, a new role, and they gave her a promotion.
Mm-hmm.
And then she stepped into just asking about working, from home and being really honest and vulnerable in the moment of like, hey, this is, my life, and my kids are really valuable to me. And I'm at a point in my career where, I want to be able to choose the best work-life balance for my family and work. Is there a way possibly that, I could do some more work? We went into more strategies behind that. And her boss was actually, resonated with it. And what I basically taught was like, get into the, the compassion side of being there for the other person and making sure they know that she valued the company, she valued, what they were going after, and that they were going to be, that she was going to do her job really well no matter where she's at in the world. And from that, her boss felt supported and felt like she was going to do a good job, and they opened up that opportunity for her. And it was a tremendous win for her to be able to now say, wow, I can spend more time with my daughter, and I get to keep the job that I want. And it's working out beautifully for her right now. They just bought a new house and getting all settled in and just got back. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about your book. You have a book out, and it's a best-selling book. That's a good thing. And
That was a good thing.
Let's talk about the title of the book, what the mission is with the book, and summarize it a little bit for us so we know what your mission is there.
Yeah. So the title of it's The Mindset Shift. And, kind of the tagline is, the journey to freedom, or your journey to freedom. And basically what I summarize in the book is when I was an employee and then went to entrepreneur, the way I like to describe it is when you're an employee, your boss or manager comes over and says, I need you to do a certain role. here's the work to do, go do it, and then they give you a paycheck. But as an entrepreneur, it's flipped on its head. You have to go out, you have to go find out what the work is, bring it in, and then do it, and then get people to pay you. It's a complete flip. It is, you're doing all of the roles in the very beginning, dependent upon, if you decide to hire some things out. But as an entrepreneur, it's your responsibility to bring in the work and then do the work and then get paid. And it's a complete flip of the mindset. And I walk people through some of the strategies and things that I went through personally, and just some solid strategies of ways to think instead of getting stuck in the rut.
And how you make that shift. Now, let me ask you this, because you've offered our listeners a download, which is corebrainjournal.com/068 download. It's a PDF. Is that right?
Yeah, and I think, what I want to make sure everybody knows is, my website's the selfconfidencecoach.co, and you may have an old PDF there, but I want to make sure I get the right information in.
Okay.
And that's basically right now. I have a confidence course that I put people through, and it's free. They just go to selfconfidencecoach.co, sign up for it, and you get emails over a specific period of time.
Okay.
And that helps people gain more confidence. So if they want to make that shift, they can start doing that, because as soon as you take the leap into entrepreneurship, there's going to be a lot of fears come up, because there's going to be new circumstances. You're going to have to start making sales calls or start talking to people about new issues that are coming. It's, a whole wide variety of things start popping up. And if you are not comfortable with and don't have the confidence to get through some of those things, it's going to stop you dead in the water.
Mm-hmm.
So in this course, it walks people through just being more confident in who they are.
So tell us a little more about that course, because we want to get on that a little bit. We got into this mindset. Is the mindset shift, is that a book download, or is it a PDF, or what? Because you have a book. Is it an ebook? Tell me what that is, because I have some confusion about that.
Yeah, so the book is actually on Amazon.
Okay.
So people can go to Amazon and search for the mindset shift, and you'll be able to find it. And I'm sure I can get you the links, and you can put that in the show notes for people to actually go to it.
I can get
or
that,
they can
Brad.
just go to my website.
That's no problem. So I just didn't understand, because I have the notes on my notes here that it was a PDF, and I just was trying to straighten all that out. So do you?
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So
I could have been a publicist.
Okay, we'll move on. Tell us about that. Tell us about that self-confidence coaching course, so we can, let the listeners know what's available in that regard.
So basically, what I take people through are the 6 keys to natural self-confidence, and those keys are, I have an acronym called STRONG, and basically. The S stands for listing out your strengths in your life, your natural abilities, things that you're good at. Putting that on your mirror, something that you look at every day, and reminding yourself of your natural strengths. The T stands for the triumphs in your life, the things that you've overcome, or the big, the big projects that you've taken on and that you've been able to accomplish, or the big lessons from some of those things that you've gone through. The R stands for regrets, and letting go of any past regrets in your life, or also called, some people, I identify some of those as shames, because I believe that, some of the things that you may have done in your past that you hold on to and have not maybe forgiven yourself for, really how it showed up in my life and held back my confidence was, oh no, if I go over there and talk to that person, they're going to eventually find out that I did this, or this in my past, so I won't even do it. And when I was able to let go of my past regrets and shames in my life and really dig deep into that and realize that, oh wow, like when I started to let go of that and investigate, I found that other people had done things like that, or had those experiences, and I wasn't alone. And it was a tremendous relief to unbottle those emotions and get them off my chest. So the next key is the O in the strong, and that's basically observing yourself. And I like to go back to the 80s in the Saturday Night Live skits when they had like Stuart Smalley, and you look in the mirror and you I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me. But basically, I have done this myself, and it actually does work. Like looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, I like that person, I love that person, and accepting the person in the mirror for who they are at this point in time has given me tremendous value, because I used to be a chubby little kid when I was growing up, and I had a lot of and I didn't tell many people about this, but I was ashamed of my body. And I've overcome that, but some of those thoughts still lingered. Like, oh, you fat little kid, or you chubby little whatever, blah blah blah. And when I started doing this mirror work on myself and having other people tell me the same thing, is that self-acceptance and self-love has huge value for your confidence, because once you can accept yourself for who you are, then no one else's opinions of you can really get into you, because you know the absolute truth. And it's been great for myself. So I really encourage everybody to really dig deep into that. And the N into the strong is when you're nervous, go into service. And I got that from a speaker trainer. And just basically, if you're nervous about something, how can you go into service for someone else? If public speaking is a perfect example of that. Like, if I'm thinking so much and I'm so nervous about, what am I going to say and how do I look and all of that, if I can turn my message in my head to, it's not about me, it's how I can make a difference for them. Then everything else goes away. I don't think, oh, okay, well, I'm just going to make a difference for Bob in the front row and see what he can,
Excellent point. That's an excellent point. Yep.
And the G in that is go be yourself. Really embrace your unique qualities. And, letting, the analogy I have here is like Lady Gaga. She really lets it fly. She's really like her unique self. She doesn't like hide anything about it. And for the people, well, you can't see this, but I'm wearing a t-shirt that I designed that says, "You're awesome." And that's just like who I am. I'm this funny, inspiring, empowering person. And for a long time, I just thought it was a part of me that I didn't say much about. Is just kind of my natural ability, but I didn't embrace it. I didn't really say, this is who I am. I just went about life and thought that was fine. But now I'm embracing it, and as I embrace that, people are reflecting back to me like, hey, they like that. They love the rubber chicken story. They like the t-shirts. They like that I get to be funny and empowering at the same time. And anybody else who thinks that whatever your unique qualities are, those things you really love to do as a kid, or the things that really light you up, and you might think they're weird or different, those might be the things that you should really embrace. Because when you're happy, other people are happy, and when other people are happy, more people are happy, and it has a domino effect into the world. And so that's the 6 keys to greater confidence: strengths and triumphs, let go of your regrets, observe yourself in the mirror, nervous, go into service, and go be yourself.
Well, Brad, that is a great place to pull it together. I mean, because you have a mission. You're cooking. You were in a different place before in your BMW, and now you're lecturing and you're talking to people all over the world. This is a good thing. So we applaud you in that regard. So what would you say in closing? Where would you like to drive people and have them connect with you? Where would you think would be the next piece of direction you'd like to send them to?
Yeah, so I had a quote this morning I just came up with while I was running. And the quote for today that I came up with was, go make someone else's problems smaller. Just be of service to someone. And if you can make their problems smaller, they're gonna think you're awesome. But people can connect with me, via my website, selfconfidencecoach.co.
Yep.
And they can always email me, brad@selfconfidencecoach.co. And you can find the same thing on Facebook, facebook.com/selfconfidencecoach.co. And yeah, if someone's thinking to themselves, wow, I could use more confidence, I encourage them to go out and sign up for the course. It's free. If and something resonated with you and you're like, wow, something really shifted, or I saw something for myself while listening to this, then yes, shoot me an email. We'll have a conversation. We'll talk, and I'll see if I can make a difference for you, in 20, 30 minutes. It's what I do. It's how someone helped me. They went out of their way, and it was a conversation, and I got a powerful insight by someone else being of service and just listening to me and telling me what they saw as the truth in that moment. Yeah.
Fantastic. Now I'm going to wrap this up with one little thought here, because I'm going to put my psychiatric hat on for just a second, because I think what you have said is so meaningful and so useful, because people lack the strength to see who they are. That whole thing of self-observation is such a difficult thing we see it all the time. People are so fixated on what others think. And in closing, just one thing to add to your point, which may be helpful in your journey of talking to others, is the idea that self-confidence comes from self-mastery. So what actually doing something different, which is what you've said, I'm kind of condensing some of the different things you've said, but when a person does self-mastery, when they do it right, their self-confidence improves. So then practice doing it right, practice being out there, being of service, as you said, and in that self-mastery, the self-confidence does come. So that's a little bit of a psychiatric angle on the whole thing. We see it all the time, and thank you for making this contribution. I know we really appreciate it, and we appreciate you taking the time. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you so much for helping me get my message out. I appreciate that.
Thanks for listening to Core Brain Journal. We're working every day behind the scenes to bring you reports that connect research benches with those street trenches. Here we share the complexity of mind science because, as you know, details really do matter. One of the most pervasive, misunderstood challenges is how commonplace medications, like those written for ADHD, are used so regularly without clear guidelines. If you think you'd like more specifics, take a minute to download my 2-page PDF packed with video links and references on the absolute essentials of how to start ADHD medications. They're easily available at corebrainjournal.com/start. Thanks for listening. Do connect and stay tuned. Together we can make a difference.